Hello everyone and welcome to another video. I'm going to be a little bit quieter because it's late at night here and there's no camera because I just got back from the movies, but we've got a new patch to go over. So let's get into it. As always, I'm not going to cover every line, but I'm going to aim to tell you guys what's the most important things. First of all, you can always find the full patch notes as seen here. You can find them very simply in the description below. So go check it out if you want to read every line. Now, as you can see here, we got quite a bit of changes, a lot of item changes, some hero balance changes, and so I'm not going to cover every single one of them. A lot of them are just, slight DPS adjustments, slight buffs, slight nerfs, etc. So let's get into the biggest losers and biggest winners from this. So a couple highlights for me from this patch, and then I'll go over a couple other things. I think biggest winner is probably Sinclair as far as heroes go. This hero got Vexing Bolt buffed, as well as Assistant Tier 2 buffed. We'll go over the changes quickly, but I think that he's one of the biggest winners. And I think that as far as items go, I think the Fleetfoot plus Enduring Speed combo is going to be really, really good. Fleetfoot got changed, so now essentially it has slow resistance, and also it lasts longer, so it lasts 6 seconds instead of 4 seconds. It also gives you bullet resistance, which I believe is fairly valuable. Now you do lose the health that you gained previously, so do keep that in mind. As far as biggest losers, a lot of the super meta items got hit pretty hard. Now Siphon Bullets also did get hit, but I wouldn't say Siphon Bullets is one of the biggest losers as it got hit, but it's not like a huge hit, so it should still be a good item. But I think Headhunter, Cultist Sacrifice, and Healing Nova got hit extremely significantly. So I think most likely this item is going to be very situational. This item is still going to be good probably, and this item is only going to be bought on supports. We'll talk about why. Calico also got hit pretty significantly. I didn't really think Calico was OP in nature. I don't think the hero was too strong. It was mostly the box running stuff that made her strong. And now the cat duration was nerfed. A bunch of things about the cat were nerfed. And on top of that, boxes were nerfed before 24 minutes and 26 seconds. So essentially what they did is that they made them so that the initial value of boxes is less, but then they buffed the scaling. So once you make it past 24 minutes and 26 seconds, boxes are actually better. But before then, they are significantly worse, especially really early at 2 minutes when they spawn, which means that running boxes in laning stage has been pretty heavily nerfed as well. Now, one new mechanic that they added this patch is scaling per boon. So they made a lot of these items like Healing Nova, Cultist Sacrifice, and not Crippling Headshot, Headhunter. They now scale per boons instead of scaling per like Spirit, for example, right? So this will feel better because, for example, on some heroes you didn't want to necessarily build Spirit, but Headhunter scaled with Spirit, and so but it's a gun item, so it kind of incentivized you to build some Spirit, but at the same time not really. So it was a little weird. So I kind of like this change. Essentially, as the game progresses, your item will just naturally scale. Now the headshot bonus damage is only 75 now, the base one, which is pretty low when you compare it to headshot booster. So you go from 50 to 75, so you don't really gain a whole lot of damage. The cooldown is still 8 seconds. You do get 4% heal, right? So you see it's 5 damage scaling per boon and 0.1%. So if I click max level here, and then I hover over Headhunter, we're going to see that it now does 175 bonus damage and 6% heal per headshot. Now, if anybody knows, that's essentially better than it was before any of the nerfs. So if you get to max boons, it is a very strong item. It's just you have to get there. And getting to max boons takes a lot of souls. For those that don't know, in order to get the max boons, you have to get to, I believe it's 40,000 souls or 39,000. I'm not actually sure, but somewhere around there. So in a lot of games, you might not even get there, but it's a lot of souls. If you want to see this, you can just hover over the little, I guess, icon here, and then see the boon scaling and at which souls you get most of your boons. So, boons are kind of irregular, and then once you get to 13k, boons are every 2,000 souls until later in the game, in which they become a little bit more spaced out for the last few ones. Now, a similar system was put in place for Cultist Sacrifice, whose base stats were essentially completely gutted. And so this item now has scaling. Just to give you guys an idea, so before it gave 25% fire rate and I think 250 health. If you want to get there, you have to get quite a lot of boons. In fact, you can see here your boons received stat. So as you can see, I have 7 boons and I'm only at 18% fire rate, 177 health. So if I want to get close to the previous stats, I essentially need 12 boons, which if you could see right here, that's 23,000 souls. So before 23,000 souls, this item is just worse than it was. And then after 23,000 souls, it does get better. So considering this item does help you farm a little bit, right? It will behave more like a traditional Midas item would in Dota, for example, where It'll make you a bit weaker early because it doesn't really give you great stats, but if you are allowed to scale with it and you're allowed to use it to generate more money, it'll, you know, eventually be a very, very strong item. And once you're at max level, I mean, this item stats are insane once you hit max level: 35% fire rate, 320 bonus health, and 15% ability range. So it's really, really strong once you get there. Now, Healing Nova was hit really hard. It was turned into a tier 3 item, right, from a tier 2. So this item is pretty much only going to be bought by supports, like I said. Very, very big change. Some changes to Restorative Shot and Headshot Booster now require the center pellet to hit the head hitbox to count. So this is just a nerf to shotgun heroes using, like, abusing Restorative Shot and Headshot Booster extremely easily. This will make it slightly harder, but probably not a huge deal. At least I haven't tested it yet. Now we've got some hero changes. Abrams got some interesting changes. So his overall health per growth was nerfed, but his infernal resilience was buffed. So his tankiness from his passive was buffed. However, you know, he has a little bit less health. And then there's also another thing, which is the base stun from shoulder charge was nerfed by 0.25 seconds, which means you won't be able to get a heavy melee in after shoulder charge. You might only be able to get a light melee. However, once you get the tier 2 upgrade, you get plus 0.45 seconds to your wall stun, which means that you'll be able to get a heavy melee once you get the tier 2. But this means that probably a lot of Abrams will be rushing at tier 2 shoulder charge, which they were already doing sometimes, but it does make it so you have to be a little bit more conscious about the way you spend your points. His ult was also nerfed a little bit. Bebop here says fix some issues with lag, compensation, and hook. Now, I haven't played. I really, really hope that this fixes some of the magnet hooks that I've seen, which are just crazy. I'm like, how did that connect? So we'll see how that is. He also got a quick little buff on his hyper beam. I don't really think that this will change too much, but it's a nice little buff for the Bebop mains out there. So Calico got 1 ammo increase. She got the self-slow damage, increased duration, which means you'll be slower when you get shot for longer as a cat. And also you are slower from minus 50% to minus 65%. And then the duration was nerfed by 1 second. The tier 1 duration was nerfed by 6 seconds, which means that you lose 7 seconds of cat. So the paths that you can run are not quite as good. And then the boxes were nerfed as well. And the recent damage window was increased from 5 seconds to 6 seconds, which makes it a little harder to transform into cat to escape certain fights. Now, Great Talon got some very, very slight buffs. I think they're being very careful with this hero, even though I don't think he's that good right now. They don't want him to be as oppressive as he was. Holiday got also some, you know, very slight buffs, right? Like a 5-second nerf on her lasso. Not too much to talk about. Infernus, extremely slight buff. Mo and Krill, also some extremely slight buffs about certain seconds, but at the same time, combo cooldown was increased. So this might actually be a nerf, because yeah, his base gun damage is increased, but his gun is still terrible, and his combo, which is really his best ability, was nerfed. So I'm not actually sure this is a buff. Pocket got a slight buff on the cloak. 7 got some adjustments. It's kind of like a nerfs and buffs at the same time. So they're mostly nerfs. Essentially the only thing is he got some power surge spirit scaling was increased, and storm cloud spirit scaling was increased. But they nerfed a lot of the base DPS of things in the upgrades. So overall, I would say that these are nerfs. Shiv got alt fire damage reduced and rage nerfed. Sinclair, this is the biggest winner in my opinion. So Vexing Bolt radius increased. Vexing Bolt's radius fixed to scale with radius increase now. So I guess this was bugged before probably, but if you get radius increase now, hopefully your Vexing Bolts are much easier to hit. Your Spectral Assistant tier 2 got an extra 2 seconds, and this might not seem like a big deal, but very often you'll go duration extender on Sinclair, so that extra 2 seconds will then get multiplied further. Rabbit Hex cooldown also reduced by 5 seconds. This is a huge deal because one of his best abilities. And so overall, I think a lot of these Sinclair changes are really, really, really good for the hero. So we'll see. He might be really strong again. Visca's very slight nerf, and then Warden got, I think this is the bullet damage per boon is an overall, I think, 8% DPS nerf at max level or something, 8 or 9%. Someone can correct me on the math, but it is significant to his gun damage for sure. And the last stand interrupt essentially means if you interrupt last stand, he likely won't be able to use it in the fight, or it'll take 30 seconds for him to come back up. And then Wraith got a slight telekinesis nerf, mostly like a slap on the wrist, but it is kind of nice because now you can't remove it with debuff remover. All right, that's it for the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. This one was just a quick one. I just wanted to get something out there to cover it. I hope you guys have been liking all the videos, and yeah, let me know if you have any comments or, you know, comments or compliments, insults, anything like that in the comments as always. And I hope you guys have a good one. Bye-bye.